This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrak. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, Exo Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Folks, I got to tell you, yesterday I was scrambling feverishly. Our thoughts, my thoughts, everybody's thoughts, once I tell you what's going on, are with Ken Duke, dealing with a little bit of adversity this morning. Everything's going to be okay, but had to take care of a situation with his family, and all is going to be good. So Ken is not going to be joining us today. I have a surprise guest. As I mentioned, remember on the show Monday where Dustin Cannell talked about calling an audible? Well, I had to call an audible, and I was scrambling trying to get somebody to host the show, and we're going to bring somebody in here in a few minutes that is very familiar with the BTL fans, and hopefully everybody will enjoy the day with this special guest host that we have today on Tuesday. But everything's going to be okay with Ken and his family. Should be here tomorrow. The plan is right now that Ken Duke will be a part of BTL on Wednesday, and I know I've received numerous questions for Ken, and Ken was going to try and get to as many of those questions as he could. I forwarded the emails on to him, and right now the plan is that we're going to have Ken Duke on tomorrow. So everything's good, feeling good. Talked to Matt last night, and yes, he did use sunscreen yesterday, so hopefully the red nose and the red face and everything else that's red is going away. The man did a good thing and went to, I think, SPF 1000 yesterday for being in Florida. So hopefully the man's taking care of his skin, and he's catching a few. He's catching a few. We're going to try and talk to him tomorrow and just get his summary on how he thought that his practice went. Before we get to our special guest host, yesterday, I started playing this bowling commercial. The fine people at Brunswick, they're behind some of the stuff that I'm doing on the bowling side, and they're also a part of the BTL lineup now. And yesterday I said, hey, if there's anybody out there that has purchased a Hammer Black Widow 2.0, shoot me an email, and I'm going to give you a tackle pack, just simply because you bought a Hammer 2.0, Black Widow 2.0. Well, I got to show you this one pick, all right? This is awesome. Let me see if I can get it pulled up here. Close. Hang on. Okay, now, I don't know if you can see it or not. I can't really blow it up anymore. But in the background, okay, there is a Black Widow spider, and then this gentleman's his name is John King. He's got a spider web in his carpet on the front deck of his boat. Also a badass-looking pit bull right there. But anyway, I thought that was too cool. That is a cool carpet scheme right there, unless you don't like spiders. Have not seen one of that. I'll ask our guest. Let's bring him in right now. Welcome, Mr. Mark Menendez. Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Mr. Jeffries. Thanks for having me, and I just want to extend all the best wishes to Ken and his family. Ken's a close friend, and he's the professor of bass fishing. He knows every statistic of bass fishing history ever. So the viewers are really going to have a great show when Ken's able to be with you guys.
Yeah, the fans love Ken Duke, and everything's okay. Just a little accident that took place in the family, and all is well. And hopefully Ken will be here on the show tomorrow. Now, I want to get back to this graphic. Have you ever seen anything like that before, Mark?
Not quite. Not quite.
Is that not awesome?
It is, and it's Halloween year round, I guess. So yeah.
I am a huge fan of that graphic. I have never seen that before. And I told the guy who responded to his email, I said, John, dude, just because you sent that in, I don't care if you bought a Black Widow bowling ball or not. I'm going to send you a tackle pack because I thought that was really cool.
A good effort. Absolutely a good effort, no doubt.
All right, man, appreciate you pitch hitting, and we're going to get into all kinds of stuff. And the first thing that I want to get into is you're off to a great start, man. I have to tell you this. Mark, the very first watch party that we did with Frank Scalish from the SJR, guess who the first angler was that we went to live?
Well, he probably looked over and covered and says, "Oh my God, it's Menendez."
It was you. It was you. And
Frank
the irony.
Together for a while, so I know Frank well. We've had a lot of fun together traveling, and Frank's a really good dude.
Yeah, it was good stuff, man. Let's talk a little bit about the SJR. You finished, what was it, 5th or 6th? I don't remember.
No, it was 5th. I'm not going to let you forget.
Okay. All right, I said 5th. I couldn't remember. Anyway, 5th place finish, and what you were doing for the vast majority of that tournament was really cool. Why don't you talk a little bit about it and just kind of clue the fans in on how you got dialed in on that pattern?
Well, water was cold down there when we got there, and I started looking for places the fish could go just to warm up because we had a warming trend coming. And I kind of chickened out, Mark. This was my first tournament back from my back injury. I was very tentative and timid in my boat driving, so I didn't go far. So I picked a place that I could go that I would be immune to rough water. And I went to a place that was kind of low odds. I went into the Crescent Lake area, which there seems to be less fish in Crescent, but better quality. And I found one stretch in the whole lake that I could get bid on. And I camped, dude. I just camped. The first day of the tournament, I went through that stretch and I caught 16 pounds pretty quick. That kind of left me scratching my head. So I moved around a little bit there. And on my way out of there, I stopped in Dunn's Creek on one place. I'd gotten one bite, got a bite. It didn't help me. Had to run in the next day. The very same scenario, Mark. I was fishing soft plastics, very slow, fishing a space monkey, Strike King space monkey, a bait that doesn't get much publicity up there, and they bit it really well. But I had to leave a little early, and I stopped back there at Dunn's Creek on that one deal, and the tide had gotten right, and it was game on. I caught a 3.5 and a 5 and culled another 2 3/4 and had to go. Did the same thing. The third day, caught that tide just right. And the final day, I wasn't able to catch that tide because it had gotten past the time that we were supposed to be in at 3 o'clock. But I managed unbelievable consistency, 16, 17, 17, and 16. And that carried me through. I just kind of made a mountain out of a molehill. And I wish you could have been in a boat with me, Mark. It was absolutely atrocious. I fished a lot this fall with my son here on the Tennessee River. Yeah. And we were drop shotting and crankbaiting. So I basically just had to make the presentation and get it wet. That was the simplicity of all of it. But I had to have some accuracy. And it's been a year since I've had a flipping stick in my hand. Yeah. And I would pitch toward a cypress tree, and it would end up 2 feet to the left or 2 feet to the right or 2 feet short. And I just was pulling my hair out, and I just stayed with it and stayed with it. I did remember what to do when I got a bite. I didn't remember that part. But getting it to where a fish was a darn adventure in babysitting, Mark. It was awful.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the cypress trees. Why were they so productive? What was special about that area of cypress trees? And to me, historically, it seems like, hey, they're either there or they're not.
Well, I kind of had a 2-lane buffer zone there. I had cypress trees that were out in front that were in 2.5 feet of water. And then I had all kinds of wood lay down cover, all kinds of stuff from the cypress trees to the bank. And then the bank was the key. There was these little drains, these little indentions that would come in that would provide the bass a place to spawn. And they could get in there. And what was really delicate about this place, Mark, a little bit of wind would make it look like coffee that quick. So those little drains is where those fish would go because it wouldn't muddy up in those little drains. And once I figured that, I could just kind of ease inside the cypress trees. And I would always have to pitch to those outside cypress trees just to keep them honest. And if I did get a bite out there, it was always a 2.5 to 4 to 5 pound fish. Not many bites, but I always had to keep those honest. So I had to fish the whole darn area like a sloth down through there. I couldn't just pick one thing and go and fish fast. I just had to be efficient, and that was fine. That's what I needed. I didn't need to be running around and trying to run and gun.
You fished there a lot, man. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You fished in Florida and numerous times. How would you classify this run in Florida? Was it typical Florida fishing, or was it unique? Was it different? What would you say about it, Mark?
I think it's really different down there right now, Mark, because there is no vegetation. There's hardly any down there at all. I mean, these manatees are going to be the skinniest they've ever been. They've gone on a weight loss program because there's nothing there for them to eat. And the bass use vegetation is the cover there, the primary cover. So you have to find some alternatives, and there's not a lot of alternatives. There's a few cypress trees, a few areas with cypress. There's a lot of boat docks. There's a few canals that have individual boat docks and cover in it. So I'm kind of worried about the recruitment of this year's spawn for the St. Johns River. I think they're looking at some leaner times here as far as fishing until they can get their vegetation reestablished. And it'll cycle back. It always does. Tidal water is the most productive water we have in bass fishing, and they recuperate really fast from hurricanes and different things like that. So it'll be back. There's no doubt about it. There's plenty of big fish in the place, but it just has spread the fishing out. Physically,
what was it like doing the grind for a week?
Well, 56 years old showed up, dude. I promise you. I was very excited to get my mind back into fishing, really focusing and making those decisions. That part of it worked very well. I had to be very cautious with my practice. I practiced very careful. The hardest part for me is lifting and putting the trolling motor in position and lifting it and putting it back into the water. Yeah. The trolling motor, I run a motor guide, and it's 9 pounds lighter than any of the others. And I'm thankful for that. I promise. That really puts a lot of stress on my back doing that. I kind of have to stretch during the day a little bit and take 5 minutes and get down there on the deck and do a few stretches just to stay loose. And I have to be I have to fish a little slower than I used to. I just can't go 1,000 miles an hour just yet, but I'm ramping up to speed. I promise.
All right. What year was that? How many years ago they had the stow and go? Do you remember that for your trolling motor?
I would love to have that right now. That was probably in the 94 to 98 range, somewhere in there where they had the trolling motor bracket that would just push a button and it would lift it. I would love to have one right now.
Yeah. Hey, we got everything else. I mean, what the heck?
Heck yeah. I mean, you got X-ray vision out front.
I know.
Scope. You can look out this way with your depth finders. I got a battery charger that runs off my alternator. I got the best music system in the boat, a Fusion music system. What else is in there? I've got padding under my carpet for my little Tootsies to be okay.
Hey, how about the graph mount that is like 4 foot in the air? Have you seen those?
My crappie fishing buddies have a couple of those.
Yeah.
And as bad as my eyesight's getting, I might have to get a couple of them.
Unbelievable. Yeah, things are continuing to evolve from the equipment standpoint. All right, man, enough about Florida. Let's move on to stop number 2. You finished, in the 30s?
Yeah, I was 30.
Is that right?
Yeah. Mark, I was in the top 10 after the second day, which meant I had 6 straight days of the season in the top 10. I don't know that I've ever done that, Mark, maybe once. But I made the absolute mountain out of a molehill there. I was running 140 miles round trip every day. I had
Wow.
to stop about 40 miles away that I would spend 2 hours. I would take off and run another 30 miles to another stop. And I was only fishing about 50, 60 yards. I'd spend 2 hours on 50 or 60 yards and mine every bite I could get. And it worked perfectly the first 2 days. The third day of the event, we had a major water change. I mean, they pulled the bottom out of that place with all the rain they were anticipating. It fell 2 feet on the upper end, a foot on the lower end. And I caught one about that tall that was 14 inches long. I actually caught it off the Yamaha manufacturing facility's boat ramp up in the Tellico region. I caught it on a bitsy bug and was thrilled to catch a 1 pound 6 ouncer so that I could go across the stage and have a bass. So if you're going to have a bad day, day 3 is the best day to have a bad day. And I can't really call it a bad day, Mark. I got one bite and I landed it. And efficiency was the main key here. I just didn't get many bites, but I was able to put them in the boat.
It was a grind, wasn't it, Mark?
Weather was awful. It was cold. It rained. We had fog issues. It was, if you ever lost your focus, Mark, and for 1 minute, and why does a bass always bite when you're thinking about, a good bowl of white beans and cornbread or something warm to warm you up, something like that. They always bite then. So you really had to maintain that focus, stay focused on what you're doing. If you got a bite, you had to damn sure make sure you got him in the boat.
Yeah. How was your practice? Did you have anything in practice?
I had 4 bites a day, and I had a couple of 4-pounders, a 5.5 pounder, and another real good fish. So my quality was really good. And so I kind of gambled on getting that quality. First day I managed a 4.5 pounder, which went a long way and carried me through to the third day. So I was trying to do a blend and a mix of a couple of things. I caught almost every fish I caught on either a crawdad colored 1.5 Strike King square bill. And what was really funny, Mark, I caught a DB craw, Denny Brower craw colored Strike King 1.5 in one of my areas. So when in Rome, I put hooks on that bad boy and went to work and ended up catching several on that the second day. So, and then I did catch one on the old cantaloupe colored spinnerbait. That was that 4.5 pounder. So it was a grind, Mark, just an absolute grind.
Yeah. How difficult is it in making your comeback after taking a year off to deal with the adversity that you had to deal with in that event?
I've had to deal with adversity several times in my career, either through my health or the loss of my wife, whatever it is. And fishing's changed for me, Mark. Yes, it is my vocation. It's what I do for a living. There's a lot of pressure out here that you have to deal with, but I'm in a great spot in life now. I'm engaged to a wonderful woman, Melissa, that really lights my life up on a daily every day. It's just so wonderful to be around such a positive person. So fishing has become fun again. It's important. I have to catch fish to stay in the Angler of the Years, make the classics. I have all these events to do for it's become fun again. And when I get in that spot where life is fun, doggone it, sometimes I can be fairly dangerous. So I just hope to keep the fun going and keep the fishing light and just not make it so heavy anymore.
All right. Now, several
what
people
does to you, Mark. That's what
I know, man. I know. Several people have said this would have been a different event if they would have let you guys lock through to Watts Bar. What are your thoughts?
I think every angler in the whole darn tournament would have gone to Watts Bar. Watts Bar is the hidden gem right now on the Tennessee River. It's got lots of grass in it. There's lots of environment those fish to live in. And doggone, I think everybody would have gone. So anyway, that's what I would have done. I would have gone immediately.
Yeah.
I got my pal Roy here. He's coming in to see what we're doing. Get out of the way, you big dog. So, but anyway, it would have been neat. It would have presented some real boating challenges because I think you would have been running as far as 90 to maybe 100 miles one way just to get to that lower end of Watts Bar where a lot of that grass is. But Watts Bar is a fabulous lake.
Yeah. All right. Some of the fans want you to explain the cantaloupe spinnerbait.
Oh boy. Let the cat out of the bag again. That is a spinnerbait that one of Clunn's mentors came up with, this color. In South Texas, they call it an Elroy. Elroy Kruger is responsible for this color. And Rick says that Elroy was the best spinnerbait fisherman of all times.
Wow.
Coming out of Rick's mouth, you kind of go, ooh, man, he must have been really good.
Yeah.
Elroy I think he made 3 classics in the early 70s. And then kind of retired from the major competition. But Elroy came up with this color, and it's been named there. So I found that from Terry Oldham Lures down in near San Antonio. I have utilized that for a long time. I've made several classics with it. I've caught several big bass of tournaments with it. I caught one at Lake Martin about 3 or 4 years ago, a daily big bass. But it's the spinnerbait that I caught the biggest bass of the first 31 years of Bassmaster competition when I caught a 13-pound 9-ounce fish in megabucks. It came on the old cantaloupe, and old cantaloupe does well when it's cold. And I didn't get but one bite, but it was the right bite to get me another paycheck on it.
Wow. And then Mark Tyler broke that record, didn't
Mark broke that record 2 years later with a 14.9 at the Delta. Yeah. And a couple of years later, Mark, we were there for an event on the top 150. And I had a hold of fish very close to the area that Mark caught that 14.9 that made my 13-pounder look like a darn guppy. My spinnerbait wire actually broke over deep water. I had the fish caught. And you know that feeling you get when the blue lights come on?
Yeah.
That feeling stuck with me. It's still in my craw right now. It was an absolute giant. I don't know if it was 15, 17, 25, 45. I just know it was a giant. And it was a chance of a lifetime to get a fish on like that, and that's what I regret about it.
Wow. All right. I know you've been real busy, but have you seen what has been happening in Texas lately? Dude, 14s, 15s. It's been insane.
You know, my production manager on my television show, Mark Menendez Bass TV, or my local show, just came back from Texas, and they fished choke and they fished O.H. Ivy. And on that trip, there were 2 14s caught doing a media event, and he got one of those on film. They also broke the state record smallmouth twice.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, you know. Late February and early March, it's a great time to be in Texas. You may not get a lot of bites, but you may only need one bite a day when you're down there because the eye on the thing may be about that darn big. It's amazing what Texas Fisheries Department of Fisheries has done with their fishing down there.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people have sent me photos and just some outstanding catches in Texas, and especially with that cold snap that we had with all the snow and the ice and what Texas went through. I thought it would kind of back stuff up a little bit, but you know, here afterwards, it might actually help it a little bit, Mark.
Well, you know, it backed those fish up from going shallow, and it probably grouped more fish on those pre-spawn areas. Yeah. So that's what's helped the fishermen. They're able to be around more of those giants at one time instead of having so many of those giants, you know, scattered about in their reservoir. So they got pretty predictable, it sounds to me like.
Yeah. Several fans want to know, were you surprised how the tournament got won? What Gussy was doing? You know,
I have a lake here, Kentucky and Barkley, and there's a canal. And I ran through that darn canal every day, going and coming, and I saw Gussy out there. When I saw him the first morning of the tournament, I went, you know what? You're dumb as a rock. You've forgotten a lot about fishing. And I said he could be on the winning deal. And he basically had it to himself the entire tournament. And I knew when I ran by there, I just had that sinking feeling that I had made a mistake by not fishing that way. But it's so hard to expand and fish something totally different when you're dialing in just a little bit. You're kind of getting a clue. Sometimes we get a clue and it takes you out of bounds.
Yeah.
It didn't take me out of bounds, but it took me away from a win. And when you give Jeff the opportunity to look at his electronics and put a spinning rod in his hand and fish vertically, he is one of the absolute best. And furthermore, the nicest Canadian that you could ever want to be friends with. All those guys are great that have come to fish with us, but Jeff is just laid back, and he's so easygoing. I really like. He smiles at everything, even when he does something. He's easy to fish around. He's very fair-minded, fair player, and we need more of that in life. Just somebody who is all around a good dude.
All right, man. Next stop, you're going to a place you're very familiar with.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Pickwick,
yeah.
Alabama. Pickwick has been on fire. Just had an ABT tournament there, and they blasted them there. We've got some weather coming. My only hopes is that it doesn't turn to mud with the rains that are getting ready to come through the Ohio River Valley and the Tennessee River Valley. But I think we're up for a real good tournament there. I think numbers will be up really, really well. My only regret, Mark, is I'm not going to be able to lock over to Wilson and get back and visit some of that stuff that I won on way back in 1998, my first national win, and fish over there. But I know a little bit about Pickwick, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that they weren't going to let you guys lock through.
Right, we're going to be restricted to Pickwick proper. We can't go to Bay Springs. We can't lock through below the Pickwick Dam. So we're pretty well relegated to that, which it's a huge lake. I mean, that's not a big, and the fishing is really good. I think you'll see some giant smallmouth, and you'll see some quality largemouth fishing in that one. And I tell you, my new Hypertech performance teammate, Buddy Gross, is the one I'm more worried about than anybody. Buddy knows his way around over there in his warning.
Just a little.
So anyway, it's going to be a neat. You're going to be able to fish so many different ways, and that's what's so cool about it.
Is this going to be an event that the fans are going to see multiple patterns, different ways to where they can pick up on techniques rather than just watching guys stare at their screen?
Well, I really think, Mark, that the 6 cameras that JM and Associates are going to put in the boats the first 2 or 3 days, it's pretty easy to think that there may be 6 complete different ways the guys are fishing.
Yeah.
Ultra shallow, ultra deep. Somebody's going to be out there offshore. Somebody's going to be fishing grass. Somebody's going to be fishing wood. Somebody's going to be way in the back of a creek. There'll be a lot of diversity, and that'll be good.
All right, let's do this. I have an idea of a discussion that I want to get into, but I want to take a commercial break first, and then we'll come back and we'll dive into something that I'm really, really interested in getting your take on, Mark.
All right,
let's do that. Mark Menendez today, in case you're just joining us. Ken Duke will be on the show tomorrow, and then on Thursday we're going to have Frank Scalish live from Lake Norman. Doing a little fishing, a little vacay for Frank. And we'll see what Frank has to say and how the fishing is, trying to catch some of those giant spotted bass down on Lake Norman. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to active imaging and new active target live sonar, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor. For a limited time, building the ultimate fishing system will be easier on your wallet. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, active target sonar, or live sight sonar and save up to $800.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed, tested and proven by legends on the water, dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duck It Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action as a crankbait, especially like the square bill, IDT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
Big companies get bigger and bigger and talk about their fancy labs where they study fish behavior, but then they all go golfing on the weekend. We don't have a large laboratory to test baits. Why, you ask? We don't need a big laboratory because our pros fish, our employees fish, our salespeople fish, our suppliers fish, our mold builders fish, our owners fish, and our kids fish. This is our laboratory. Our R&D comes from time on the water, learning how to make fish bite. All that time on the water brings us thousands of hours of testing new products and improving current ones for all species.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks. Why? Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get,
it's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
You've been waiting all week for this. And Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
Oh, it's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline.
Utilizing my experience, utilizing my time on the water, evolving as an angler, and that evolution should never stop. You have to do it every day. From when you wake up in the morning, you got to be thinking about changing, continually changing every minute, every cast. That's really the premise of fishing the moment.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. I'm like, X-Zone lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
Hey Hammer fans, I'm Bill O'Neill, and I'm excited to tell you that the wait is finally over. The Black Widow 2.0 is precisely what you're looking for in a Black Widow. It's the perfect ball on medium to heavy oil lane conditions, with a big sweeping backhand motion that's going to lead to a lot of high scores. Black and red colors pay homage to one of the most successful bowling balls of all time, as we bring back the original reaction shape, updated for today's lane conditions. All right, Hammer fans, that's it for the Black Widow 2.0. Don't forget, check us out on all social media platforms and visit us at hammerbowling.com.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday with our special guest host, Mr. Mark Menendez. And once again, if you're just joining us, Ken Duke was scheduled. Ken will be on tomorrow. All right, had a little business he had to take care of, and we are planning on having Ken co-host the show tomorrow. All right, Mark, I want to get into something, and this is a result of some of the feedback that I have received from the fans. And the question is, why do we always start in Florida? What is the deal? Why does every single tournament trail always start in Florida? So I thought, all right, let's do this. If we had the magic pencil or pen or whatever, and could put together a schedule of 10 events on the Bassmaster Elite Series, take out the whole money situation. All right, we all know that money and cellular connectivity is vital to the schedule. All right, we are going to put together a 10-event schedule, you and I, right now, that would begin not in January, but in February.
Okay.
All right, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but we're going to see where this goes. All right, so we're going to start the Elite Series in the month of February. Where are we going first?
Boy, that's a hard call because February we can go so many places. I'm going to be selfish, Mark, and my first stop in February, number 1A, would be Lake Martin, Alabama. Now, Lake Martin, Alabama is the best pattern lake in the United States. It's hard to catch 5 and 6 pounders there. They do live there. 20-pound sacks do live there on occasion, but it's about being consistent, and you can find a pattern and run that pattern from one end of the lake to the other. It has largemouth and small and spotted bass in it. It would be great. My backup in February would be Gainesville, Georgia, at Lake Lanier for giant spotted bass. One of those two would be where I would love to start.
All right. Now, I always try to show some love for the West Coast.
Okay.
And I would like to get your take on why the tour, because Florida is, for somebody that lives in Oklahoma or Texas or Kansas or wherever, Minnesota, Florida, California, it's close to the same distance.
Yeah, you just turn left or turn right out of your driveway.
Yeah, exactly. So why not start on the West Coast and work our way back?
Well, we have a good history at the California Delta, but the problem with the Delta in the early spring is the cold runoff coming in. All of those rivers that come into the Delta lead to relatively cold water and fog conditions in that January, February, and part of March. So it has to warm up a little more at the Delta. Dude, Clear Lake is as good as it gets. If you want to go to Clear Lake tomorrow, I'll be at your house tonight to pick you up and we'll go. It's one of my favorite fisheries. So we could probably get away with a Clear Lake tournament in March that would be just off the chain, pre-spawn, big swim baits, big jigs, and big bass. So that would be an awesome deal to go to Clear Lake in March, I believe.
All right. I feel for the West Coast. I mean, I know there's a lot of adversity, a lot of logistical stuff that the organization has to go through to get to the West Coast. But in theory, it's the same thing as going to Florida from a cost standpoint, except if you might be, on the East Coast, be it the Carolinas, be it Florida. I mean, if you got to go Florida to California, for heaven's sake, I mean, that's simple math right there.
But I love going out there, Mark. It's one of my favorite trips. Driving through the desert, I'm surprised I haven't run off the road because I'm looking all around. I'm not watching where I'm going because I'm totally immersed in the drive. It's so beautiful, and great fishing fans in California. Those guys love to fish as much as I do. And it's just a long way to go. But you're right; it's not that much further than going to Florida. It's really not for most of the professional fishermen that live in the center portion of the country.
All right. Event number 2 or event number 3, if you go Florida, you have 2 events. The first 2 events in Florida or right around Florida. If you went West Coast, you'd have 2 events on the West Coast. Where are we going next?
The 1st of April, doggone, I love to go to this historic place, another Alabama lake. Eufaula comes to mind real quick. Old muddy water and old big fish shallow. They eat a spinnerbait like candy out of your hand. It's just such a historic place and such a good fishery. And it has such a variety. You can fish down at the lower end of the lake around brush piles. You can run up the river and take a flipping stick. So Eufaula is a great April time period.
All right. I would probably, if we went California on the way back, I'd stop in Texas. Next 2 stops would be Texas, Oklahoma. I think Texoma. I know the Elite Series has been to Texoma before, but I think it's a different lake when you fish it early April or late March. It's totally a different lake compared to the times that they have been there. So I would probably go to a Rayburn, may even go back to Amistad, or I know that the cellular service absolutely sucks at Falcon Lake, but to be able to go back to Falcon Lake would be a special thing.
It would be, and Falcon is such a unique fishery. I think they come off the bed when they're born at about 4.5 pounds. You know what they call a 5-pounder down there, or at least some of my buddies do.
A dink.
They call it a standard. What'd you catch today? Well, I had 5 standards. You had 25 pounds.
Jeez.
Place you can fish offshore. You can flip heavy cover. You can run up the river and do well, actually. So it is a unique place. It's just got a little bit of danger element there. A little bit of danger there, but those coffee grounds across the border there can be quite interesting. So
we're not talking about the thorn bushes, are we?
No, sir.
All right, let's talk spawn now. If you had to have a spawning event, not smallmouth, not up north, where would that be? All right, I'm kind of working my way back. I'm going California, Texas, Oklahoma there. You're going Florida, Alabama. Where's the next one at? Right in the middle of the spawn.
Oh, right in the middle of the spawn. Darn. I love to flip bushes. In its heyday, and let me make a statement here. Kentucky Lake is coming back, Mark.
That's good.
More 14 to 16 inch fish in the lake that I've seen in a long time. So one more good spawn, we'll see Kentucky Lake make its way back to some of these trails here soon. So we're doing well there on the war on carp. Doggone. You might have to take me to Toledo, because you can fish offshore with a big plug. You can still flip bushes at that time. You got them coming and going, and any cast there could be just an absolute giant. I had one tournament there, Mark, where I had flipping sticks on one side of the boat and 6XDs on the other side of the boat, and did real well by doing that. Toledo's just a neat place. You can run up the lake and get in those bushes, and buckbrush fishing is just a way of life for me. So I'd say Toledo would be a cool place to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. My choice would be, it's a place that you guys haven't been to for a while, and it's a little before all of the 42-foot boats that have, twin inboard 400s in there, where you got those things screaming all over the place. I would say Lake of the Ozarks. And the reason is one, you haven't been there in a long time. Two, it is a special place when you get in that pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn type of scenarios. And I just think that is a neat place for people across the country to see what you guys can do in all aspects. The sight fishing guys can have a field day. The pre-spawn guys can still go out and catch them. And the guys that like to go out there and target those post-spawns fish, they're still going to have a heyday. So I would say Lake of the Ozarks.
Mark, I fished a classic tournament there way back in the 90s and finished second with over 50 pounds. And, 6 fish limits in those days. But 80% of what I weighed in were Kentuckies. It was scary. I'd throw a couple of 5 to 6 pound largemouth on 4 or 5 big Kentuckies, and my Kentuckies were averaging 3 3/4 to 4 pounds. It's one of the prettiest bags of fish that I ever weighed in.
Yeah,
really, a lot of the local guys were oohing and ahhing over that.
Yeah, there's very few lakes in the country that you can have what Matt and I call the hat trick, where you have largemouth, smallmouth, and Kentuckies.
That's true. That's very true, and we're going to see that next week at Pickwick when the Elite Series stops in Florence, Alabama. You'll see some trifectas. That's for sure.
All right, very cool. All right, next stop, you're leaving Toledo Bend. Where are you going?
Ooh, where are we? We're in May. Or are we in
May?
June? May. Still can't go up north yet because you're still not able to chase bass up there legally in most places, even though they did get that changed in Michigan. May. Another lake that's not really known for its big fish, but fantastic pattern fishing. Everybody catches them there. So this becomes a tournament of ounces where 1 4 or 5 pounder makes a big deal. Doggone it. I like Lake Norman for a tournament.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out how to get you 2 quality fish a day because everybody's going to have 7 to 10 pounds. But if you can average 12 to 13 a day, you just steadily move on up the ladder. Big spotted bass there, which has become a dominant factor there. But the old largemouth is the one that you're chasing there. So neat place to fish.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one. All right, let's go June.
June.
We're not going to fish in July. All right, July we're not going to fish. We're going June.
June. The Tennessee River's so good in June, Mark.
Yeah.
Cranked a 6XD thousands of miles, and I have to go to the old famous one. I've got to go to the Ville. It's G-Ville is so good. Gunnersville. We had a tournament there in 19, and those offshore fish didn't play, and the bank fish played, and I had a great tournament with a flipping stick in my hand in June. So I love Gunnersville any chance I can get there.
All right. It would be what? What is the word, man? I can't think of the word. It would be injustice not to go to Alabama for at least one stop.
It's true. And my heart, I love Alabama fishing, Mark. It's such a diverse place. You've got Smith Lake, you've got Gunnersville, you've got the Tennessee River running through there and such great lakes. You follow to the south, even a little bit of Seminole touches in there. They have such diverse fisheries. That's why they have such good fishermen.
Yeah.
Diversity is the key of life when it comes to fishing. And those areas in where you have that diversity grow really good fishermen.
All right. August, September, October, we're going to stick 3 tournaments in those 3 months. And then I'm also going to get a classic lake from you. But first, 3 stops up north. Where are we going?
The first stop I'm going is Waddington. And then the second stop I'm going to Waddington. And the third stop I'm going to Waddington. What a dream fishery, Mark. Those darn smallmouth. I mean, they're just Bill Lowen calls them baby dump trucks. When you hook one on a drop shot in 20 feet of water and he just fights you the whole time. They never give up. It's a beautiful place. The scenery is spectacular. The fishing is great. You're going to see me in Waddington at that time. End of story.
All right, 2 more.
Oh, I like St. Clair in August because I can wind a 5XD all day nonstop and catch great big bags there. That fishery, those fish are growing. It used to be, a 3.5 pound average would do you really well. Then it skipped to a 4 pound average. And now you got to catch 4.5s to 5s on the average there to do there. 22, 23 pounds is not a big deal anymore. The numbers in St. Clair, it's just an estuary. It's just a freshwater Great Lake estuary is all it is. And it just holds tremendous numbers of fish. And then I'm trying to think of another one of those northern fisheries that I really like. I've had great finishes on some of the tidal fisheries up there. I've had great finishes at Oneida. That's a neat place. Cayuga. I'd love another trip to Cayuga. Full of largemouth, got some giant smallmouth in it. And the numbers of bass that are in that lake with the limited amount of water that you can actually fish effectively in that lake just astounds me. Cayuga is another one of those great places.
What if you had a situation, I mean, this is really thinking outside of the box, but what if you had an opportunity to pick any of the 3 Finger Lakes? Any of the 3. You can go to any one of the 3 Finger Lakes. Boom. Take off. Select what lake you're going to fish on. Get after it.
That'd be cool. I mean, that would be such a gamble because Cayuga seems to me like, from what I've learned, is the better of the 3 there.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce the other 2.
I'm with you.
I know Seneca basically fishes the same. It has a few more smallmouth in it. There was a Bassmaster event there years ago in which very few guys got to weigh in because of rough water. Everybody ran to the south end and nobody made it back. And the guys that had 1 or 2 fish from the north end actually finished way high in the tournament because they couldn't get back. But that was days with 18-foot boats and small gas tanks and things like that. That would be a neat proposition, Mark. That would be really a neat idea.
Yeah. I've said it numerous times on this show, Lake Champlain. I know some people get burned out on it. But lately and over the past few years, Mark, it seems like it has been a different lake every time that you guys have went there. Sometimes tide comes into play, and then all of a sudden the grass and the fish aren't there, and it's just not happening down south in tide. Other times smallmouth dominate. Other times it's a combination of both. It's such a vast expansion of water. One of my favorite lakes, if not the favorite lake in the northeast of mine.
Well, it is a great lake. I have to give it props for that. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings that may be a local up there, but it's the one I'm looking to get past. I don't have a good history up there. First year we were there in the fall, I had a great tournament, but I don't typically do well there. So I've got a big mental hurdle because it's terrible, Mark, when I'm out there and I'm catching 2.5 pounders and I know I'm getting throttled toward the bottom of the standings.
Yeah.
It's just one that I don't feel comfortable with. Some lakes we go to, Mark, it's like I pull up and I go, yep, fixing to catch them here. I get this place. And then there's other places where I go and I'm kind of like, wonder how I'm going to catch one today. I better have some tuna fish in the boat in a can so that I can have some fish in the boat.
Yeah.
So it's one that I struggle with. But it is a fantastic fishery, great scenery, great largemouth, great smallmouth. But it is one I struggle with.
Yeah. All right, man. This year, month of June, we're going to Lake Ray Roberts for the Bassmaster Classic. Obviously, it was going to take place earlier because of the whole COVID situation. Where would be your selection? Not for 2022. I'm going to go all the way to 2023.
Okay.
Because hopefully by 2023, we're completely past this entire COVID situation, of which people are free to go and do whatever they want to do. And hopefully we don't have to wear masks by then and everything. So 2023, question number 1, what time of the year?
Right.
And 2, where are we going to have it at?
Well, I would like to see a change in the timing for the event. We've had it in the spring for a very long time. And in my opinion, I think that the springtime tournaments are great. It's okay. But I'd like to see it again in the summer when fishing is much more challenging. This is the premier pinnacle event in our sport. It is the one in which everyone remembers who wins. Regardless of what tournament it is, everybody remembers who wins the Classic. So it's time to move it back to the summer, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make it tougher fishing, on different venues. And I think it will be easier to bring big crowds because kids are out of school. And we'll play to a lot more young people and getting them involved in our favorite sport of fishing. You know, in the summer like that, you've generally got to have some kind of a running river system in it. All of those Coosa River lakes are really, really good. We've had numerous classics there in the past. You know, a lake like Grand can hold its own in the summertime. Deep brush piles, deep points with a big jig. That's a great venue for a summertime classic. You know, do we take the venue out of place, Mark? Because it's only select venues we can have a classic because we need a sports show area.
Right.
So if we take that out and we go to some place where I want to go fishing, darn, I mean, you know, you could make it as challenging as you wanted to in the summertime where it would be darn near impossible to catch a fish, but I want to go somewhere where I can blast them. And I want to go somewhere where we can fish offshore, fish that big plug, fish that big jig, structure spoons, whatever it is. You know, a Rayburn comes to mind because there's so many opportunities to fish there, either shallow or deep. Hey, St. John's River would be cool too. That would be a toughie with tidal water in there. Offshore fishing, dock fishing, that could be a cool venue. Moving up the country, you know, Santee showed out pretty good in a tough. It's really hard to catch them in the summer at Santee. That would be kind of cool. What else? The Arkansas River would be cool. There's been past classics there in the summer. Darn, something that would be really cool. Maybe Lake X in Western Kentucky. Just kidding. That's a private place. Can't go there, but we'd catch them there.
How about the Ohio River?
You know, the Ohio gives a really negative connotation to fishing.
Yeah.
The lower part of the Ohio, where Paducah, Kentucky would be a hell of a darn place to have a classic because you've got three rivers there. We had an Elite 50 there that fishing was low right after the largemouth bass fires, but I have stomped them this winter and fall, getting ready for the elite season this year with my son, catching big smallmouth, big spotted bass, and big largemouth. That would be kind of cool.
Let me ask you this. What about having a classic where the focus is smallmouth? All right. And the last time that the classic was during the summer in a big city, it was a disaster. And that was Chicago. What about having a classic on St. Clair out of Detroit?
Oh, that would work.
You think so?
I think everybody would love that because fish catching would be at a premium. That would be kind of neat. That's really not a bad deal. But I would say, as a caveat to that, the Eastern Basin in Buffalo would be kind of cool too on Lake Erie. That's great fishery, and those darn things get big there. And if you really want to get tricky, let's go below Niagara Falls and let's fish the Niagara River and Ontario, because word from my friends at Rapid Fishing Solutions tell me that they're even bigger and badder there than the Eastern Basin. So there's so many venues, but it needs to be challenging in the fact that it opens up to everybody's strengths. That's what I think. And I just love that summertime opportunity to get more fans involved, get more young people involved in fishing, get them to that classic and see the excitement that bass fishing can bring. And we've had the model for a long time where we started like NASCAR with the Daytona 500, and I just don't think it's quite as successful as what the summertime venues would bring to fishing.
Yeah. All right, I have to ask for the West Coast guys and myself, could the city of Sacramento support a Bassmaster Classic?
They probably could. The venues there, we would have to be allowed to put in down in the Delta. That runs long and treacherous and kills a lot of the fishing time. If we could put in Stockton, where we would be in the Delta proper, and save that 75 to 100 mile run, I'd be all for it. It could. that would be kind of a neat venue as well. You'd have to, the stakes would have to go up just because of the cost of driving that far for most all of us. The financial part of it would have to change a little bit, but
yeah,
that'd be a cool venue. Good thought.
Yeah, I just remember the very first time that we were in Stockton out there, looking back at the crowd. You remember we had the weigh-in in that park there?
Yes.
And looking back at the crowd, and it was probably, 100, 200 yards from the stage to where that iron fence,
yes,
iron and cement fence, and it was wall-to-wall people, Mark. It was insane. I bet there was 6,000-7,000 people there.
There were, and our West Coast Bassin brethren, they, like I said before, they're as serious about their fishing as we are over here. And I hate the fact that it is so far for the organizations to go, but it just becomes a financial burden going out there.
Yeah.
When I do a double take out there, I've got 2 entry fees, I've got all of that travel money. If I get 2 $10,000 checks, I broke even.
Yeah.
Broke even.
What about the Mississippi River in the northern pools?
That would be really cool. Let's go to Minnesota and fish one up there. We've been to La Crosse. La Crosse is a great fishery, a great host town. Let's move it on up a little further and see how great the fishing is above there. Those single digit pools, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all really good pools. And that would be cool. That would be real cool.
All right, man. That's always fun to talk about and kind of analyze. Hey, it is a tough, difficult, challenging job to try and put a schedule together, Mark.
It is, with all the venues and all the contracts and the difficulty of COVID. The organizations really have a hard time. I wish they would listen to what we're proposing with this fantasy idea of going to some of these Great Lakes. When the Elite Series was first focused, it was on the premise of the best place at the best times so we could catch giant bass. And we did that for several years. Unfortunately, some of those venues were relatively small, and it takes a lot for a small town to come up with the availability to do that. But I would love to see us go back to the best places at the best times. And I understand it is a difficult thing to put together a schedule. And in this world of a health crisis, you never know. I mean, we're kind of skating here on thin ice as far as if we're going to get to the next event or not. But so far, we're able to do it. I saw the final weigh-in at Knoxville. Weather was kind of sketchy, but everyone there, Mark, was social distance. Hey, that's let's do that. Let's just get through this so that we can get back to what our normal is. Let's everybody pull together. Wear a mask for a few minutes. Be kind to your neighbor by doing that. And the best way to social distance is in the front of my Skeeter boat.
Yeah. Cool stuff. All right, man, I'm going to throw an idea out at you, and it's all because of this thing that I have in my hand right here. I'm talking about technology. Very funny. Yeah. No taker. That's all it is, Nobody ever uses it for a telephone anymore.
Right.
It's everything else. Are you familiar with the what is it called? The Fan Football League. Anyway, Johnny Manziel was playing in this thing.
Okay.
Have you heard about this? I think it's called the Fan Football League. All right. It's indoors. I think it's like 6-on-6. There's no kicks, no field goal kickers, no punts, no nothing.
Just straight up offense.
They do a draft every single week. All right. Yeah. The franchise have a draft. And anyway, and I was thinking, would this work? Because the technology is available. All right. And we're always looking and thinking about how we can engage the fans more in this game. How cool would it be? And is it something that would be viable that, number one, the fans would be interested in? Mm-hmm. Number two, you guys would be interested in. And number three, the sponsors would be interested in. All right? Okay. From a pool of fans, somehow, some way, a fan gets selected. This fan becomes your team partner.
Okay.
All right. And you're going one-on-one against another fan and whoever his partner is.
Okay.
Now, here's the twist on it. Because of this technology, that is available. Obviously, we're going to live stream the whole thing, but the fan is actually telling you what to do.
Oh.
Okay? In other words, let's say you guys, you talk, you got a game plan together, all right, and you're able to communicate before the event. But let's say you're fishing Grand Lake, and I'm just going to use Grand Lake because I'm familiar with it. All right, and Joe Fan tells you, okay, Mark, here's what we're going to do. I want you to start in Duck Creek and see that span of docks right there that are right off of the Arrowhead Yacht Club. I want you to start on that left dock right there, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to throw a jerk bait on the left side of that dock and go jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, that kind of cadence. So now the fan is utilizing what he thinks will work with you, all right, and you guys actually work together as a team. Is that something that is just totally, not even feasible? I'm out of my mind to think that anything like that would work. Or is that something that you think that the fans would definitely grasp onto, and there's enough of the guys that are out on tour that would be willing to do something like that?
Well, it sounds to me like it's the BassZone.com new tournament circuit to me. I think it would be a great event to do in our off time. And generate a learned situation where this is truly teaching others that are watching. Now, as hard-headed as I am, Mark, it would be very hard for me if I thought it should be pause, jerk, 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 pause.
Yeah.
It would be very hard for me to listen to that.
Yeah.
But the suggestion, I think it would be really cool to get that fan who loves to fish just as much as I do, he's got to work 50 hours a week and doesn't get to fish as much as I may get to fish, to have him in the boat with me. Or, Mark, this may be even better. Let's reverse that. I become like the college boat driver or the high school boat driver, and I'm the one that's coaching him.
I like that.
And I don't get to fish, but I get to be able to coach and say, now, why didn't you approach that shade line and focus on that shade line? Because a bass doesn't wear sunglasses.
I like that a lot. That is cool.
Better. And that gets my brain out of the way trying to listen to what he's trying to tell me. But he may not have as much experience as I do, and it might be easier for him to take that suggestion.
No, you're dead on. That's the way it needs to happen. And what would be cool is to have a camera on you, all right, and go split screen, kind of like what we're doing right now. Have the camera on you, have the camera on him, and you're seeing the frustration that you're going through because you're telling him to do one thing and he can't execute what you're trying to tell him. Dude, that would be awesome.
That would be fun. And I think you'd have a lot of pros that would love to participate in that. I think the sponsors would love that because it would be open to an array of new people that they could show their wares. And the other thing we could do, Mark, is we have our own little tackle box, and that's the only tackle box they get to get.
Oh, I like this.
I bring my Strike King wares, and this is all he gets to have. I mean, he gets 25 lures in there, or 25 pack, whatever, soft or hard or whatever kind of jerk bait or anything in there. And that has to be a uniform. And this is how we can get sponsors in it. The first episode, you've got me and Greg Hackney out there. You got two Strike King guys, so we're fishing with Strike King. And then you take Drew Cook and McClellan, and those two guys bring big bite baits and stuff like that. So that's how you parlay that around, and it opens up to the entire industry. And I think that would be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of logistics to get done, but
I'm telling you, man, with this new technology, just like the stuff that we're using right now,
yes,
all you need is an iPhone or a cell phone.
That's right.
And a good internet connection and a Bluetooth, and that's it.
And we could go to some smaller lakes with two guys on there and go to some great little small countries and things like that. We can make it great.
All right, fans, let me know what you think about this. I see some comments over on the YouTube feed. But seriously, if you would be interested in doing this, being on the water, all right, would it have to be the same lake, Mark? Would the competitors have to be on the same lake? Would it make it a little more interesting if they were on the same lake?
It might, but for logistics purposes, it really wouldn't matter. It really wouldn't matter. They're going to get to fish the same amount of time, and if we figure out some kind of point scale.
Yeah,
there's a lot of math we can do behind that. It really wouldn't matter. But if we could move it around different places, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. All right. You've heard it first right here on BTL. I think it's a cool idea. I was going a different direction trying to get the fan involved, but I'm telling you, Mark, you created the missing element to make it even more entertaining and even more engaging for the fan to be on the water, to be able to listen to their coach as they're instructing them on what to do.
So
that's awesome.
You've even got 3 divisions, Mark. You got a high school division, you got a college division, then you have an open division.
Yeah.
So you can go so many different ways with it, but neat thought process.
All right, man. We need to talk about it. We need to talk to Mark about it. Get 3 Marks involved. Holy crap!
Oh my gosh, couldn't. I don't know if you could get 3 Marks involved. Copley would love it. Mark Copley would love it at Strike King. I'll speak for him. He's in. I made the decision. He's in. So
just get and it wouldn't be. It would be like a 4-hour deal or a 3-hour deal. It wouldn't be an 8-hour on the water all day long.
Sure. I mean,
and do it at a place obviously where you have cell service. Secondly, a place where you can catch fish.
Yes.
Where you're going to catch them, and I think it needs to be on the same lake. I think the 2 guys definitely need to be on the same lake. Now, you guys, you could be sitting right where you're sitting right now, Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, let me see what that.
No travel.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, let me see what that row of docks looks like right there. And he takes his phone and he shows the row of docks and go, all right, what's the water temp? All right, what's the bank look like?
Mm-hmm.
He's feeding you all this information, and then you go, boom, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do, John or whoever. I'm in on this. I like this idea. I think the fans like it a lot, too. I don't think this has ever been done. If it's ever been done, somebody please tell me.
I think it would be cool. It would be very cool.
All right. There we go. Good stuff. All right. Anybody else, if you're listening to the replay on the podcast or if you're watching the replay on YouTube, shoot me an email. Or if you're watching live right now, shoot me an email, mark@bassone.com. Give me your thoughts on this, and we'll see how many people would be interested in this little concept to see if it would work. In the meantime, Mark, talk to some of your Strike King buddies and see if there's anybody out there that would be willing to do this. Obviously, we need to have an entry fee and a prize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I
see.
think we'll come up with something.
From a technology standpoint, I can definitely pull this off. This is a piece of cake.
All right.
All right.
You're the brains behind that. I don't even know how to turn my phone on.
Piece of cake, man, because all you got to do is sit where you're at right now.
That is perfect place for me to be.
That's all you got to do.
There you go. That's
all right. We'll
Mark,
see how.
I want to do one thing before we go any further.
Sure.
I want to throw a shout out there to an angler that had a remarkable comeback this week at our event. I want to say congratulations to David Fritz for kicking COVID's butt. He didn't go to the first tournament, but he showed up at Knoxville and started slow and ended with a bang and finished 11th.
Yeah.
11th. He had like 6'10" and then came out with a 15-pound day the last day, showing that the old guy can still wind that plug. Great job, David. Great to have you back, and glad that your health is improving.
Did you get a chance to talk to him, Mark?
I never saw him all week.
Really?
I never saw him practicing. I didn't even know he was there until I saw the standings, and I was just thrilled to see that he had made his way back in the bow of the boat. I'm just really glad David's doing well.
Yeah, really, really cool. Do you think he was sitting down? Wherever he was fishing, do you think he was sitting down?
Marky, He's been sitting down the last 15 straight years. And, I teased David about that, but it's just great to see one of the premier the absolute premier plug fisherman in the world get back in the front of the bass boat at, I guess he's 64 or 65 now, have a bout with this darn virus and then kick its butt and then come out there and kick ours too. I'm just thrilled to see him back.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, Mark, man, I cannot thank you enough for pinch hitting at the last minute there. And Ken Duke will be back tomorrow. But great stuff, great topics. And, dude, we might have stirred up a pot of idea there with this concept. We'll see.
Great. I mean, it's a perfect YouTube series. That would be a very easy way to do it. And I'd love to invite everybody to go to my YouTube channel while we're doing this. I'm going to take a shameless plug. Mark Menendez Bass TV on YouTube. I've got some of my television show up there, tips and things like that. So take a crack at it, subscribe, like, and giddy up. There's some pretty cool information on there.
All right, man. Good stuff, folks. We will keep you posted on that. Mark, we'll get you back on the show too very soon, man.
Well, thank you. I'm taking a little week off. Going to get the tackle reorganized, the boat washed, and the truck worked on, and head to Alabama here soon.
All right. Great stuff. All right, folks, tomorrow, Ken Duke, Thursday, day 4 with Frank Scalish from Lake Norman, and we will see if he is catching some of those ginormous spotted bass, and we'll see what Frank has to say. All right, Mark, be safe, and we will talk to you soon, man.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's it. We're out of here, folks.